everything's demoed. We got the only 2 full sheets of drywall up on the ceiling that can fit. Time to start making some cuts. Step 1 will be getting all the drywall up, taped, mudded, etc. Which step 1, a lot of steps in drywall. Then we'll get to electrical, and that's really kind of it after we get the water in. But yeah, drywall, electrical, getting our water stuff back in. The room isn't totally square, so this is actually a tapered piece. One way to make sure you don't screw things up too bad, write a reference point to make sure, you know, you don't have to go in there and spin something 3 times to get it in the right way. We got the drywall up on one wall. Before we do any further, we're gonna add some fiberglass insulation to these exterior walls just to quiet the room down a little bit so we don't hear as much outside noise. Before we do that, need to finish up the plumbing. This is the hot and cold for the sink. There also used to be a bucket filler here. The bucket filler is gone. And we're also switching the water heater from the tanked water heater that was in the corner to a small tankless water heater that I found that will mount up here. That'll be awesome, but we need to run the pipes so we can actually hook that up. The only hot water supply from that water heater was this outlet. So I'm just gonna cut where that pipe was. We're gonna stem it up and out. Then we're also gonna pull off from this faucet for the cold water since everything's buried in the foam. Some of you might be like, didn't you just put a piece of wood there? I did. What I didn't do was check. I just assumed because my white pipe was so much longer than the red pipe that it was going to be the same height, and I cut it, forgetting that I spliced them in at different heights. So my white pipe was too short, so that was just going to bug me to have the hot and the cold coming out not on level. Redid it to get it where it needs to be, so now we'll get everything strapped in here so it's nice and tight. So the reason we did the random cut on the end here in place is because the 8-foot board came all the way to the edge instead of breaking in the middle. I should have measured first and checked that. Didn't catch it. Now, when you do the framing, there's some tricks to make sure that whenever you end on use your 8-foot stock, it actually ends, even accounting for the thickness of the material on the other walls. But that's a whole deep thing to get into. Just make sure you think that through whenever you're framing walls. Anyway, if you catch that ahead of time, like we did for the next board, we cut it out there, which is easier, but you can always trim boards in place. And then I obviously didn't do a great job cutting this one in. But anyway, time to drill the holes and put this board into place around these. And this is why I'm running conduit in here like I did outside the shop instead of running all my electrical inside the walls. 1, I have extra conduit and all the wire and stuff for that. 2, I just really don't enjoy drywall, and one of the things I hate about it is having to measure and find where everything goes and then cut those, and it's a pain. So we're just going to run it on the walls because it's my office and I can do what I want. Got some more screws to shoot, but I want to talk about taping first. Now, because this is a pretty small room, I'm just going to use the fiber tape. If I had a big job to use, I'd use the banjo and paper tape because paper tape is about 1/5 of the price. But it's been a while since I've done this, and it would take me doing this whole room before I got the hang of the banjo again. So just sprung for the fiber tape. we need to cover all the nail holes with mud, drywall joint compound, and then for all the seams, first thing we'll do is put tape on it, and then come back and start spreading compound. Now, my 3 big tips for finishing drywall is the best way to do it, which is one I'm very hypocritical about because I haven't taken advantage of it, is pay someone else to do it. The second thing to do if you're finishing drywall on your own is remember texture is your friend instead of trying to do a flat finish. And the third thing would be don't take drywall finish advice from a woodworker on YouTube. When you open the mud, make sure you save the little plastic layer, put it on the lid, so that way whenever you're done, you can smooth the top, put the plastic down. That'll help you from getting dry chunks. And before you do anything, even though it's already mixed, mix it again. You'll just be surprised how much better it flows and lays if you mix it first. Trays are really handy for when you're doing all your tape joints. When I'm just doing all the nail holes, I much prefer to just have 2 knives and do the ball technique. I really like working with a small knife too. And the whole idea with the ball is you just keep a ball on your trowels. And you have 2, so you have 1 to put it on. And smooth it. And once your mud starts getting all wonky, just a few swipes, you get a nice clean ball again that you can work with. It's just a lot lighter than having a tray to deal with. All the mudding and taping is finally done. I sanded it down some off camera because it's so stinking messy. I'm gonna do a roll-on knockdown texture. So next is watering down my mud a little bit so it'll roll, knocking it down, then we can get to all the painting and it's coming along. Texture's had about a day and a half to dry. Looks really good. I'm happy with it. About to start my painting sequence. I'm gonna prime it first with Kills 2. Kills has been my go-to primer for a long time, and if you ever struggle with getting good prime on things, just use Kills. It's the bomb. No affiliation, just what I've used forever. Room's totally empty, so I'm just gonna spray it because I don't have that much to mask off anyways. The new paint primer combination paints are really awesome. However, in my experience, if you're starting with bare drywall, it's worth it to just prime first with a dedicated primer and then paint. The paint primers are really best if you're repainting a wall that's already been painted. For bare drywall, just prime. It's gonna save you a bunch of headache. And I'm gonna stop putting this off and get to it. All right, off camera, obviously, I got the actual paint color up and I went ahead and painted both the doors the same color that the trim's gonna be. Hope I'm not messing with the light too much. And I also bought a bunch of trim boards to do the baseboard and the casing and got that painted the same dark color as well. I also went ahead and did all the funky trim out around this door from where I had to set a door for a 2x4 wall into a 2x6 wall because I'm cheap. So that was very atypical and a pain in the butt. That's done. So next is just going to be getting all the trim casing up, or yeah, trim and casing, trim, whatever. You know what I mean. I'm sure some of you noticed when I did the drywall on the walls, it didn't come all the way down. Normally it'll get closer, but not quite all the way. I didn't do an extra strip because I'm doing a 1x4 baseboard, so it's all going to get covered up anyway. However, I do have this big gap that's going to make my baseboard want to not sit vertical and fall in towards the wall. So to fix that, I'm just taking some offcut strips of drywall, and I'll just brad nail these in that gap to give the 1x4 something to rest against. And then it'll sit nice and pretty. All right, trim is done. Got it caulked, waiting for that to dry, then to do some touch-up paint. Except for that piece, when I cut it, I did a onesie, and I didn't have any extra, so have to get an extra piece for that later. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and jump to electrical because there's probably some electrical stuff I need from the store too. So get as far as I can with that, get a list, get that board, get the rest of the electrical. And I also need some covers for these dudes just to clean up these holes. So I'll get those too. But yeah, time to do some electrical. So we got all the wires pulled, about ready to start hooking everything up. What we got going on is we have two 110 circuits coming in, as well as a 30 amp 220 circuit, which is just coming right here that the water heater is gonna get hooked up into. One of the things I was really excited about that water heater is I found one that only runs off of a 30 amp breaker instead of a 60 amp breaker, because I didn't want to have to pull 6 gauge wire. This is just 10 gauge. I had that on hand, so it's real nice. So we got two circuits coming in. Because of where they are in the box, I'm not doing a shared neutral. They have separate neutrals. And I'm going to have a switched outlet here off the blue wire. That's my switch leg. In the middle, another switched outlet on the blue wire, the switch leg, because this is what I'm going to plug my lights into, or those, so that way I didn't have to run outlets on the ceiling. This is going to be on the same circuit as my lights. There's going to be an outlet up there for some electronics. I'm going to put a shelf up there coming down. This is the red is also my light circuit. So I've got the red broken, and then the switch leg. Then I'm going to come down, have an AB switch or AB outlets down here. So I'll have the both circuits, so that way I can do load balancing with whatever I add in here. My desk is going to go here, so computers, electronics, I can balance that load. And again, the other thing I have is both of my 110 circuits coming down here. Again, AB circuits. I'm going to have a mini fridge here. And on this wall, I have one stick of EMT coming across the ceiling, coming down here for whatever I have here, AB circuit, and then also snaking up to right here, which seems like an odd position, but on the way, I have an upright wall cabinet and then 2 base cabinets and 2 upper cabinets. So this will be like at a countertop height where I'll have this for anything I'm doing up there that I might need to plug in. And anywhere that I'm not sure exactly how things are gonna go, I put outlets from both circuits, so that way once I get everything in here, I can check wattages and then make sure I balance my load. Sinks in, moved in the rest of my furniture. Down here getting everything organized, looking pretty good. Got a few little things to do, but for now, this project's wrapped up. So we got entryway, sit to stand desk, got my iMac and MacBook, camera system. Up there I've got my shelf for my router and everything where it comes in from the house. Mini fridge. Sink so we can wash everything. After all the work I put in here, I decided it would be a shame to recycle that just a really ugly one. The tankless water heater is also a really nice touch, works pretty quick. I bought some more cabinets like the ones I have out in the shop that'll be coming out in the shop tour for in here. They look really sleek. I've got some room over here. One thing I do want to do, since they didn't come with a wood top or anything, I think I'll make a nice wood top to go there. Look a little bit nicer, but still need to dress up my charging station. But yeah, this is pretty much it. I have a fairly clean space now where I can come keep all of my camera gear, computer work, files, etc. Have a place to, you know, get water to drink, clean my tools, have some other beverages down here. It's pretty amazing. The only thing at this point that I wish the shop had was a restroom, and that's a downside of being short, is at least with the slop sink, I guess I'd get a little stool and I'd have a urinal too. But anyway, I hope you were inspired, learned something, or at least entertained. And until next time, make time to make something. Third thing would be, don't take drywall finish advice from a woodworker on YouTube.